Let's try that again, everyone.
Go from the top. Go from the top. Here we go.
Okay, hang on. I'll put the music up again. Let's try it again.
Here we go.
Okay. My producer forgot to turn the mic on first time around. She made a boo-boo. It's all right. It's not the end of the world.
I made one.
She said she didn't do it. You know what's funny? We had double mute problems. So at the beginning, John forgot to unmute and I was saying you're muted, and then I wasn't even... Anyway.
I'm often muted around here. But look, great show this week, everybody. We've got our global fly-in, and that round of applause is going to be for a special show. So we hope you're going to check out these instructions that Greg's going to give you and get in and let's have a fly today and see where you're flying. We'd love to do that.
So let's absolutely do that. We're going to start with the instructions now. For my producer who hasn't had a chance to look at these yet, there's some photos in the VLC player over there at the bottom. The first one is Go 1, I think it's called. So get your DJI Go and you're going to click the hamburger in the top right-hand corner, those little 3 dots over there. Then the next photo. Then you're going to go and click, and I can't see it so close here, but I think it says Select Live Broadcast Platform, and then you do that after clicking the 3 dots at the bottom there. And then on the next slide, we get over there and you put in rtmp://rtmp.dronebook.org/live/your key and replace your key with something unique to you. It can be your name, it can be your tax file number, doesn't matter. I'll see it at this end and we'll bring you in. And then finally, the next slide. The next photo, there we go. And you click go live or whatever it says there, start. I can't see it. It's a bit far away for my old eyes. That's if you're using DJI Go 4. If you're using the Fly app, let's have a look at Fly number 1 photo. Same kind of thing. Click the button in the top left-hand corner over there, as you can see in the photo. That's number 1. Step number 2. The photos are out of order, wouldn't you know it? Click that one first. That's not my producer's fault. That's my fault.
No, yeah.
Click that one first, the 3 dots, then go back to the first photo just so we can show them. And then you click over here and then we go to the third photo, which is the third shot, that one over there. Click transmission up the top over there. Then the 4th photo. Click that one, live broadcasting platform. And number 5. Click the RTMP. And follow your nose. You type in the last photo. What do we got there? That one over there. You type in rtmp://rtmp.dronebook.org/live/your key. And you put your broadcasting key in there. As I said, it can be your name, your tax file number, anything, as long as it's unique. And I will see it come into my dashboard over here. I'm looking at my dashboard right now. No one's in there yet, but later on, we'll get some of you guys flying wherever you are in the world, and we'll share that on the screen here as part of the show.
Look, I was all set up to do this, Greg, and we tried it yesterday and tested it. It was working perfectly. And today it is blowing 7 bells here on the boat. And I had the Mini ready, but it's a little bit windy for it today. I was hoping this morning it might sit around 20 knots. Mini will fly in 20 knots pretty comfortably. But it's just touching 30 now, and that gets a bit dodgy when you're trying to recover onto the boat in that kind of breeze. So I'm on the ground and enjoying other people's flying, hopefully.
Unlike if you're flying on land, if you can't get it down, it's okay. You can walk over to where the aircraft is, but it doesn't work so well on water.
Yep, that's what they say. And they say it's always better to have a long walk to retrieve your airplane rather than a short walk to pick up the pieces. So there you go.
Absolutely. A couple of other things. Just a reminder for everyone, there's a competition going today. We need some more people to enter the competition. All you have to do, and I put it into the chat before, Lloyd, if you could do me a favor and look back up and get those links and put them in again. You got to do 2 things. You got to send a link to this product. You got to share it on social media and send a picture of that to my email address, upload@gregkuhnert.com. Lloyd will send both of those in a couple of minutes. That's all you got to do to enter. What do you win? There's your choice of two prizes, either a physical hardware one where you got to be a bit of a geek to install it. It's a booster board to go and give you some better signal for your drone. Or if you think you're beyond the technical skills to do that, you can just get a No Limit Drone software license, and that's really easy. If you get the hardware prize, you just got to pay for the shipping, but the product is totally free. So that's end of the competition. We want someone to win before we finish today. What else have we got? Any news from you, John, this week?
Well, it's been a pretty good week. Not much flying on this week. It's been raining here. We've had the old El Nino weather pattern, and the whole eastern side of Australia is underwater, right from Alice Springs. Those of you overseas would know Uluru, or as it was once known, Ayers Rock, in the middle. All around that area is going into flood. So we have these events about every 4 years, and Australia takes a big drink at that particular point. We have sometimes 2 years rain fall down in just a month or so. So it kind of works here. A land of drought and flooding range is what they've always called it, and it's a pretty good thing, pretty cool thing. So I imagine a lot of the EMS drones are going to be flying, looking after the floods as they do after the fires as well. So we've been standing by for a bit of that. It seems to have cleared out of here for the moment, but pretty much we've been on the ground this week, unfortunately. So I've been just working in the hangar, building, nuts and bolts and more VTOLs and anything I can get to fly. So it's been a fun week in the hangar.
Yeah. By the way, just a quick little comment. If anyone is involved in search and rescue associated with floods or fires, our friends at No Limit Drones, not that I've mentioned them already because of the competition, but we can get you a free license for their software so that you can fly in areas that would otherwise be restricted for emergency purposes only, for search and rescue. So reach out if that's something that you're going to be doing as a result of any natural disasters. There you go.
Lots of stuff on the Mavic 3 coming in now. Of course, we've got the traditional hundreds and hundreds of unboxing videos. I know we had a discussion about it, Greg, and there's a few questions about the Mavic 3 that have come up, and particularly little things like a limit of 3 per customer. I mean, wow, at the price, at $7,000, a limit of 3. I mean, let me think. That's disappointing. But also some.
But you know what, John? Do you know what? Here's the challenge. If it's a limit of 3 per customer, you need 4 kidneys to get one drone in the first place. So I don't know how that's going to work.
I don't know how it's going to work. You're going to run out of kidneys before you get one. And look, a couple of things that DJI missed, and that is that the standard Mavic 3 works with the Air 2S controller. What a thing, a nice gift it would have been to us, where we always seem to be buying new controllers and repeating ourselves. The Air 2S and the Mini 2 controller that we're using these days is a great controller. It really is. It's got so much battery life. It's got great range. It's really comfortable to hold. It's compact, retractable aerial. Those of you that use this controller will know that that's a fantastic controller. And why wouldn't we be able to just get the Mavic 3 and link it to what we've got? And the goggles. I mean, we seem to always wait for the right software for the goggles. DJI have had this thing in the design stage for years and years. I think it would have been a great thing after, if they really want to cap the market here, is give us the versions of the Mavic 3 with the new smart controller, one that works with the old smart controller perhaps, and works with your existing goggles and controllers, and you just buy the airframe itself. I think they would have snapped that up. They talk about supply issues, not being able to get enough suppliers to build it, so that would have helped in that regard. So sometimes you just wonder, maybe they just sat around at marketing one day and said, look, people are going to pay the money for this thing anyway. Let's just take the money off them. Who knows, but I would have thought that would have been a great thing for the very, I suppose, committed and loyal DJI community with their customers that they have. I
think you're right. I think you're right.
The mark,
Look, here's what I want to do for the first part of the show. Right, let's kill the music in the background, and we're going to have a little discussion now. Our viewers, if you could post in the chat, and Lloyd, if you get any comments about the Mavic 3, put them up on the screen. We'll talk about them, we'll address them before we get into the news. And if you're not asking questions, make sure you get your drone in the air and sending a video feed to us. No one there waiting yet. We'll put your video up on the screen as soon as we get it. So again, this is not part of the news, but we're going to go and talk about the Mavic 3. So you've mentioned the first issue, right? So the whole issue of the remote control, and if you've got an existing remote, why couldn't you buy the drone without the remote? But the reverse is true as well. So if you're rich enough to go and get the Cine version, why wouldn't that remote go and connect to and control an existing drone? The only thing that's different between the two of them is firmware. So it just doesn't make sense to me that DJI wouldn't be leveraging their range of products to say, hey, one controller, many drones. Why wouldn't you do that?
I don't know too. And look, there's a little bit of confusion about the transmission protocol that they're advertising. They're calling it O3 rather than OcuSync 3. Is this another marketing thing? Is it different in terms of what the protocol is? What is behind, the O3 or OcuSync 3 magic that we don't really understand? The range is purported to be, a little bit more. It's a better range for the aircraft as well in most circumstances. So, but we've seen that climb anyway. We've seen the flight time climb. We're seeing other little things. Now, they're not going to put anything, deliver anything new that doesn't have those benefits with it. So, what is behind the door there? I mean, Greg, you might be one of the first to find this out, in your work in looking at the way this software hangs together. Look, yeah. I think your point there about the controller. Well, I bought the smart controller. I've actually since sold it because I love the Air 2S Mini 2 controller. I have a preference for that. But yeah, I bought the smart controller. It should work with everything. I should be able to, obviously understanding even backwards compatible. Why wouldn't the smart controller have that ability perhaps to work with all of the aircraft that I have? So that I've only got to charge the one device. Remember, I've got if I paid all this money for it, I put my apps on it, I have all my details on it. I just want to charge that one device and I want to grab it. I had a separate case for it. Whatever drone I take out to fly, and I don't, at the moment I've only got a couple of DJI aircraft, but of course the Mini 2 and of course the Mavic, people waited for all of this compatibility. DJI sometimes taking 6 months to come up with fix those compatibility. And there was a bombardment of requests. I mean, why would not ask us first? That was a great idea, as another thing. So what are we seeing from our chat room?
So I saw a couple there. DJI can charge whatever they want was the first one I saw. Someone's just saying, I personally think they will make it backwards compatible in time. So here's the interesting thing. DJI have already stated that they won't make the smart controller is not compatible because it's a OcuSync 2.
Right.
Well, they've already stated that publicly. So if they're saying that, either the person in the forum hasn't really thought this through because the controller that comes with a standard bundle is also OcuSync 2.
That's right. I mean,
unless the only other possibility is they may have put a firmware boost on that where it's OcuSync 3 capable in that controller, but they just haven't pushed it out for the smart controller yet. That's a possibility too.
It is a possibility. Look, my understanding, Greg, is the OcuSync technology is different between 1 and 2, but basically it's a combination of both the 2.4 and 5 gig signals, where you've got a bidirectional and coexisting switching mechanism that uses both technologies for a nice secure link. It's clean, it's unique, and so that is the thing by really removing a lot of the interference. One of the things you notice if you don't take an OcuSync aircraft out you go to an area with heavy Wi-Fi interference, you'll notice the OcuSync will beat it every time. And it's not necessarily a transmission power thing. It's really a protocol where noise is eliminated by the link itself. And that's my understanding of it. And, I know that you have had a good look at this kind of stuff. So, look, you're looking at marketing, you're looking at technology differences. Are there things that are too hard in terms of the hard wiring of the aircraft itself? We've been waiting for a couple of years for this aeroplane, and there's been plenty of time there to think about, to look at how successful the Mavic 2 Pro was. And look, I do agree with the comment that DJI can charge whatever they like.
Mm.
Absolutely, they can. It's their prerogative and their right to do that, and I think they'll still sell. I have no doubt about that. I think probably that it's the option. It's not the price I'm talking about here. It's almost the convenience of
Mm.
having one controller more than the price itself. So yeah, just my thought. But everyone to his own, really, on this.
Yeah. Look, Nick is saying my iPhone does 5G and 4G, so why can't the new controller do OcuSync 3 and 2? There is a difference with that. iPhone needed physical hardware support to do that. But in the case of the OcuSync, it's software only difference to the best of our knowledge. I mean, we obviously would need to see DJI schematics or reverse engineered data, and we don't have either of the above yet.
Yep.
But it should be a software thing. And you know what? There's an interesting question about that. I haven't looked into it, but what was the difference between Lightbridge and OcuSync version 1 and the Phantom 4 Pro and all of that kind of stuff?
Yep.
The difference is they probably had only one. With OcuSync 2, they're doing two frequencies and they're bonding them at the same time, and their transmission physical RF hardware wasn't capable of doing that. That's the reason why there was the V2. Looking at Ben Cartwright here, they really just need to concentrate on drones for a minute and not action cameras, gimbals, and electric toothbrushes.
Well, what else was DJI going to get into cars or something at one stage? There was another arm they were going to get into robotic cars or the technology. I can't remember that. We haven't heard any more about that. So who knows? Look, I think to sort of round up,
we've got a few more things. We've got a few more things. Let's go into the next part. So what are the differences between the standard bird and the cine bird? And we'll just put the little photo on the screen just so people can see that lovely piece of technology. And here's the simple question. You know that you've got the storage, so you've got an SSD on board with the cine, and you know that there's, obviously the transfer capability associated with that. Fair enough. What are the other differences?
It's a terabyte, Greg. It's a terabyte of memory, Greg. I mean, I might use this thing as my portable hard drive in the future. I mean, a terabyte's a very healthy, whether you would, start to fill it up at any stage, I don't know. Perhaps at 5.4, where you're talking about very, very large file sizes, big bandwidth as well. So I think the Cine is definitely, probably got some very nice things in it but that particular purpose, for that reason.
But let's talk about that. So the Cine has the higher bit rate format, the ProRes format. That's not different hardware, right? To be able to save information in that format, that's ultimately software. It's a software license, and Apple are obviously charging for that. The question is, something that we all need to have a look at. Can you retrofit a 1 terabyte SSD on the drone? First question. And second question, would it be possible in the future to go and get that software license added? Is that something DJI will offer, or is it, are we stuffed? I don't know. Got to wait and see.
Look, I think it's possible. It's certainly possible to add those things without too much grief. Even keeping the standard storage and having that license, there's certainly a reason if that's sort of a real advantage and people are asking for it. As you say, it's a software thing. There may be a future upgrade where you can download, pay that license, and add that to the drone. I mean, that's quite reasonable with a certain firmware upgrade.
Okay. Now, I've got one more thing that I'm going to quickly go to, and I was looking at Ed Ricker's Facebook page. And I don't have a screenshot of this, but I'm going to share the message. Ed said, finally, the Mavic 3, I bought it, so I'm going to have to make it worth it. Just looking up here, with ProRes, you'll fill up a terabyte really quick. Nick is absolutely correct. And he goes on to say, with every new release, there's bound to be some bugs. The first one I've encountered is that it doesn't work with the Google Pixel 6 and the 6 Pro yet. Luckily,
Yeah,
I
that,
still have a Pixel 5a and running on Android 12, which works perfectly. But I'm reminded of how important it is to check compatibility with DJI Fly app before making a DJI purchase. Undoubtedly, the Pixel 6 and Pro will eventually work, but who's to know how long that will take? First impressions, it feels really light. Props are big. I could get lost in the Fly More bag. The gimbal prop cover is awesome. The controller is pretty much visually identical to the Mavic, to the Mini 2, Air 2, Air 2S, etc. controllers.
yep, yep.
I'm holding off, he says, on getting the new Smart Controller Pro until it becomes backwards compatible with the Mavic and the Air 2S and da da da. No sense in
There we
owning
are.
two smart controllers for two drones. It defeats the whole point.
That's exactly right. This was our first point. If you're going to spend all that money on a controller, I want it to make me coffee in the morning. It's got to be the device of choice and a pride of ownership to have a controller. I loved the smart controller when I first had it. Everything about it wasn't great, mind you, it never was, but it was a lovely device to hold. The screen was good, the interface, what you're looking at was very good, but there are all sorts of problems uploading and working inside Android and the things that didn't work. Now, for those of you that have looked at the iPad Mini 6, we know that came out recently. I held off this because I was waiting for that compatibility. The iPad Mini 6 is a fantastic device. And the way the small, very, very lightweight Mini sits on your remote, and if you need the adapter, of course, for the Air 2S controller, but it's balanced. It's not too heavy. The screen is the entire face of the device, which is great. So it's got lots of real estate. It's really clear, but it still doesn't have daylight visibility like you'll get out of the Crystal Sky or the Smart Controller or the Pro Smart Controller, I believe. Daylight the iPads were never sort of designed for that kind of thing. You're still using shades, as good as it is. But again, that point is very important to state again about compatibility. There is a page, very easy link to find about compatibility with the aircraft. And I don't even know if the iPad Mini 6 is still on there, but I waited until enough people had tried it and we got it. And it does work. It works fine with most of the existing platforms that we're using from DJI. So, yeah, some good comments from the chat room as well. And I think, we're going to have to see this thing evolve and just see what people want, see what DJI decides to put in their development roadmap, what they decide to make is backwards compatible. Is this Mavic 3 going to be sitting here now for a couple of years or 2 or 3 years like the 2 Pro before it gets any kind of upgrade is what we're really asking.
So let me ask you this question, right? Let's pretend you heard the message that the smart controller would never work the way we want it to work and the new one won't work with the old one. Let's just pretend that was a fact. Would you instead say, look at Crystal Sky as a better alternative to suit all drones?
Better is not probably the right word here. I think it really depends a lot down to the user and what they're using it for. I can still see myself getting the expensive controller, and even if it only worked with that one airplane. If I'm going to, in Australia, everybody, if you buy the Cine version, it's over $7,000 here for the Cine version. This is a big now. I've spent all my money. I bought the RTK 2 months ago, the Phantom 4 RTK, and in Australia that was over $8,000. I mentioned I picked it up from Camzilla one day and they gave me a discount. But I'm looking at it, I'm saying this is a Phantom 4 with a bubble on top of it. A same camera, same, everything about it seemed the same. However, it's got a different controller. It's great for an unusual job. And I spent the money on it. I've been dragging around other add-ons to get RTK onto our airplanes. And so I think, yes, I'll probably end up getting it, even though it does one job, if that's the job I need it for. And I think people who are really looking for that cinematic, if you like, absolutely the best in class as far as getting footage, aerial images and aerial video going, they are going to part with the dough if they've got it. That's it, isn't it? And if you're not, you're like most of us, we'll fly the Mini 2 and we'll hold up our images and video and say, guess what? Here's something for nearly 10% of the price that does a fantastic job, flies in all the same wind. I mean, it's just unbelievable. They shot themselves in the foot. The Mini 2 is so good with that controller that, man, on most days, that's the airplane you're going to take out the door. We really are.
Yeah, let's go into one other quick topic before we stop talking Mavic 3. The reason you still use your Phantom 4 Pro, talk about that. I'm going to let you just say it.
It's purely the mechanical shutter. Okay. Yeah. So this is what makes a difference in terms of distortion, a rolling shutter and taking still images while you're moving. And also there's a fair bit to understand about the technology, and I'm going to admit that I don't understand all of it. But I do know in terms, if you're doing the work that requires photos that really have the correct, if you like spread the field of view has got to capture accurately an area of the surface of the Earth, mechanical shutter does it every time. I think it also, the way inside the Mavic 4 Pro, and this is one thing, the way that mechanical shutter is integrated with the exposure settings and also the focus settings. This airplane, you know, that touch focus and take a photo, take a mechanical shot, is fast and it's clean, and you can be belting along even at sort of 7 or 8 kilometers an hour. Sorry, it's in the kilometers an hour, but that's a nice moving shot, and you'll get on a good daylight on a really average setting, if you like, an auto setting, you'll get a great photo every time. Whereas if you notice taking photos of fast moving objects, so, you know, motorbikes and things like that, and cars and speedboats, and taking stills of those, you get a rolling shutter effect. What you notice is, first thing to pick up is if you've got a street lamp, a pole like that, and a rolling shutter will give you a curved street lamp like this as you're moving. It won't be straight. And look, it creates an interesting effect, but it's not for those that want that accurate shot. Certainly can't use it for a survey as easily as you can a mechanical shutter. This was a big deal. Everyone, you know, was hoping that the Mavic 3 would have a mechanical shutter. Looking at the camera and the way it's got the 2 cameras built in and everything, there obviously wasn't scope to put that in. And I think the other thing that DJI really got pressured by is the Euro weight of 900 grams. This airplane is lighter than the Mavic 2 Pro, right? The Mavic 3 Pro is lighter because of regulations. I understand it. You know, I get it. They're looking for those European sales. Maybe we might see a Mavic 3 Cine 2 that is a heavier airplane, because the rest of the world in Australia, it's 2 kilos. We can, you know, the Mavic 4 Pro is 1.4 kilos. We can have or if you want an unregistered aircraft, it's got to be below 249 grams. Well, there we are. That's the design for the Mini 2. So DJI is undoubtedly pressured and moved to distribute their aircraft and design their aircraft within regulations that might suit their market. What we sacrifice for that, we know. We can.
Yeah. You know, ages ago, with a number of aircraft, we were thinking about, will they have an interchangeable camera when the Mavic 2 was coming out. Let me just quickly go to Ben's comment. So my brain's been distracted. Interchangeable camera. It would have been good if they could have done that for the Mavic Pro 3.
Yeah, absolutely.
It may still be possible, but that'd be a factory change unless you're a skilled technician. But let's see what Ben's got here. I like the Crystal Sky, especially with the jailbreak mod. But it did take me a full day to get everything working. Yeah, it's a little bit of work, but it's a very nice screen. But again, if you're using a smart controller type device, you've already got a screen there, so it probably doesn't make sense. I know, I'm just thinking out loud when I was asking that question before. So
yeah, it makes sense. Look, I've seen Crystal Skies look really good. A couple of comments. I know one of the major operators here that was involved in surf life saving, they've had many Crystal Skies. They started to get rust and so forth around. They're working in a saltwater environment, so understandable. A lot of devices would suffer from this. So they're not necessarily Crystal Sky. I really like the screen. I like the way the screen looks. I think it's ruggedized in a fairly sensible way. You know, iPad's interesting is because they're not necessarily look like they're ruggedized. And you know what I mean by it. We drag these screens out in the yonder when we're flying on from boats and cars and motorbikes and everything else. The screen, how the device that you're holding is going to survive a drop or going to survive the environment is really, really important. And I know you can obviously ruggedize it with cases and so forth, but yeah, that's another point. But the Crystal Sky does take some setting up, no doubt about that. Once you get it going, the actual screen and the available light on the screen is really good, no doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Let's leave that discussion there, and it's time to go to the news. Now, as always, we say at this point of the show, OzByDrone News is brought to you by Air Data UAV. Is your drone healthy, or is it about to surprise you on your next flight? Don't wait to find out. Discover under the hood information and review the early signs of problems before you take off again. There's a discount code of OzByDrone20, which will give you a 20% discount. There is a link in the description. And even better than that, you can get a free version of that software. All you have to do is run it. It's not going to have all the same features, but give it a try. Air Data UAV.
Great software. Really looking, they've got some great new features on it, and they're still digging through those. So well done.
Okay, let's move on from that and go to our first story. And I've got something. Let me play this. There we go. And I've got to scroll up my screen to get the story. There we go. On the topic of drones and mind control, the first thing that pops into mind for me is 7 of 9 from Star Trek. However, there are other types of mind control that have applications for drones. Defense company Ultra Electronics has unveiled a working prototype. Okay, enough of the music. A working prototype of a drone that can be operated by your mind at the Three Countries Defence and Security Expo in Melbourne in the UK. Check this out.
That we create.
So, interesting story. Have you heard much about that before? OzByDrone hit her with a spit wad. She still doesn't know what it was. I'll tell her just so she can have a laugh. You left it on the small screen instead of going to the big screen for the video.
That's fine. Look, you know, I was watching Lloyd nod off a little bit to our Mavic 3 discussion, and that woke him up, which was good. Bit of mind control. The stealth technology that goes into some of the fighters, stealth fighters, I should say, these days, has this technology, and it works really well with a single pilot. So when you're interfacing with a machine, and of course, eye tracking technology and voice commands are a great way while you've got hands on stick and throttle, and you might be flying the aircraft, you're able to, without taking your hands off it, use your eye and voice command to activate things. So this has been in the military for a while. Introduce a second person into it in the same environment, and things go a bit pear-shaped. Because when you say something perhaps to the other crew member, the computer says, "Hey, hang on, was that for me?" So there's certainly ways around it, but certainly in a single operator environment, eye and particularly voice command is a very, very good way. We watch it these days. You've got it on your phone. Your phone sees your face to start with. That's a very rudimentary way, and unlocks, and then you can issue voice commands to it. So we have this technology, some of it, in our hand these days for many of the phone devices that we have. And so I think it's a great next step. It's going to take not so much the machine smarts to get this right. It's going to take it for us. Remember when we first had Siri, and you would get all sorts of crazy responses. And as the software improved, we learned how to talk to Siri. Basically, as you would learn to talk to your child sitting in the back of the car. Shut up or I'll stop the car. And, you know the right voice commands that get the job done. And so you would learn to talk to Siri. There's going to be that process as well here as well. It's not going to be like interacting with another human or a child. So those of you that have children know exactly what I'm talking about. Lloyd's going to give his comment here because he's probably got some good experience in this with people talking to him and not listening.
Yeah, well, a couple of things that I was thinking about. You mentioned the phone. Doesn't the phones used for facial recognition LiDAR?
Yes, exactly. It's using a LiDAR.
So the other thing that I see a problem with this is you can't very well be looking at your drone when you're trying to look at that screen to make it do what it's supposed to. This would be a great thing for somebody like our friend Mike Roche, who is in a wheelchair and can't fly his drone under. So that'd be a great thing for that. But I'm not too sure I want something strapped to my head that's reading my brainwaves.
Yeah, well,
we know my drone would crash probably if that were the case.
Well, Lloyd, you make a good comment there in terms of working with someone who's disabled and giving them access to it's great. How about talk about strapping something to your head? Why not do it with the goggles? Now, the goggles are great because if you're going to track your eye movements inside the goggles, there's definitely a field of range there, and the voice. I don't know why we didn't have voice command on the goggles because I find it a bit of a problem. If I want to, it'd be very, very simple to just say take photo or start video to the goggles and have them do it without stumbling around. I mean, you get used to it. Those of you that fly FPV are all laughing at me at the moment because really you've got your hands on the thumbs. But also, it's simple voice commands through the goggles and eye tracking makes perfect sense. And that would be a great way for someone to actually fly the airplane and maneuver the airplane, call up certain commands while wearing the goggles. Makes good sense there in that environment for sure.
Having just experienced the new modern cars, having just bought a new van this week, I got to tell you, it's a pain trying to get some of that stuff hooked up when you're using voice commands. But at least in the Chryslers, they're smart enough to tell you what you're supposed to say to ask the right question. They give you. But it's still, I can't imagine controlling a drone like that God, who put it up there now? Somebody says, actually asked, do I have brainwaves? On occasion I do, but I'm not sure that, it might get, and that's the other thing. It might get muddled between my brainwaves and my dummy's brainwaves over here.
There you go.
Because if I'm talking in two voices, it may get confused. So who knows what would happen?
Yeah, I think ventriloquists have lots of problems that we don't even got time to go into here. But
multiple personality disorder.
Throwing your voice. I mean, that's a really good idea, aside. But again, you make the point, Lloyd, about your new car. We're seeing a lot of that voice commands in cars. And I use my phone to send text and so forth. Here we go. We're moving. Greg's moving us on to the next story. Let's do it.
I pressed the wrong button. I was trying to get rid of Nick's comment, but I pressed that one. So let's move on anyway. So the next story is about illegal flights. The media is reporting that a number of drone incidents is increasing. As responsible pilots, you and I and all of our audience agree that stupidity is ultimately the cause of these concerns. But question, is this a media beat up or is there a real increase in actual incidents? We know that there is increased detections of drones flying in restricted airspace because they've got more monitoring systems. And that's the stat that they quote in this story. But does that mean there's more aircraft or does it mean more detection? What we do know is from the attached story that there was only one collision incident cited in this story that we're about to look at. Based on those numbers, perhaps we should ban cars on the road because there's many more incidents with cars. Now, this is a discussion point. Just have a listen and tell me what you think.
As the technology gets smaller and the prices become lower, that's also meant more drone flights into areas that could be dangerous.
Our KCRA3 investigation has found drones are causing problems more frequently than you might think. It's one of the easiest and now cheapest ways to get a bird's eye view of almost anything. But as more people are getting the bug to fly a drone, those devices are showing up where they shouldn't.
So drones can cause major concerns for aircraft, not just helicopters, but fixed wing, especially smaller aircraft.
Dan Oppenheim is the pilot of Livecopter 3, and he's been flying for a decade. He says unmanned drones are becoming more of a worry for people in the air.
It might not sound like a big deal, but for perspective, if you take a drone that weighs about as much as a cell phone, think about the damage that might be caused if you were to take a cell phone and throw it off an overpass and hit a car at highway speeds. Well, drones are heavier than a cell phone, and we're generally in cruise flight faster than highway speed, so it can cause major damage.
And when Oppenheim says major damage, this is what he's talking about. This is the damage an Army helicopter took in 2017 when it was patrolling over New York after striking a drone. And researchers from the University of...
And I'm just going to pause it there.
Yeah.
Leave it on screen. We're going to continue. But they're going and showing this university thing where they flung a drone at high speed at the side of the wing, which doesn't simulate reality. But let's continue.
Dayton tracked what a drone can do to a plane flying at full speed in the air. In slow motion, you can see it tear right through this wing. A drone incursion could happen right here at Sacramento Executive Airport. Just look at how close some of these homes are to the runway. Literally a few hundred feet away. A drone launched from one of those homes would be a violation. KCRA3 Investigates obtained the data from the Federal Aviation Administration.
And again, would be a violation. Not necessarily there is.
In other words, flying where they shouldn't be. In California, the number of incursions on average is 300 to 400 a year. But in just the first 6 months of this year, there have been 226, a marked increase. And that includes 7 in Sacramento, 2 in Modesto, and 1 in Auburn.
And same comment again, just because you see someone turn a drone on, it is legal to fly indoors, for example. So
all of that, Greg, I think your point about detection is right. We've got a greater amount of aeroscope detecting stuff now, which brings them up. But so, I mean, they noted the 2017 collision. I mean, don't we have another one since then? You mean the one that we've had with the Army helicopter, as bad as that was, that's it. I mean, out of all the increased incursions, so perhaps we could do the make the assumption that if this incredible lift, if you like, in incursions or fights hasn't raised the amount of collisions necessarily. Maybe there are near misses and so forth, but we don't have that data as well. Just talking about the actual detection is your point, and I think I make a good one. What do you think, Grumps?
Well, first off, I'm calling BS on that study from the college. We all know what kind of crap that is, and Nick puts it right there. You throw a frozen chicken through a cannon like you did that drone. Because you notice there were no problems. That drone was not flying. It was being launched, okay, which we all know about that one. And the other one, he says it would be a violation. No, it could be because there are some instances near airport where Part 107s have asked for a waiver, and they have gotten the waiver. That doesn't mean that anybody who launches a drone near an airport is in violation if they've gotten the proper waivers. So they need to have somebody that's at least got as much brains as this old fart does to know that instead to start reporting the truth. And these newscasters, and like I forgot who put it up there. Eat more possum. They're worried about their jobs. These helicopter pilots that work for these TV stations, they're getting just as good video out of a lot of these drones as they were off of those very expensive helicopters at probably 1/100th of the cost. I mean, you start looking at all the movies. I've gotten to the point now I can spot them in movies, television shows. They're no longer using helicopters, and look at Jake Sloan was talking here just a couple of weeks ago or last week about a helicopter a helicopter got struck by a drone. It did not crash the drone. It nicked the edge of the wing. They're going to have to replace, or not the wing, but the rotor. They're going to have to replace it because of safety regulations, which they were able to land just fine. And that's the first one since 2017 that they're talking about. And that's just a recent one that just happened. But this garbage that these TV stations are spewing out, it's because they don't have, it was NBC. They don't have any viewers anyway, so they have to do something to get people excited.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? I think the challenge is that Donald Trump is not available for them to whinge about anymore. Well, so the drones are the new Donald Trump.
I'm not gonna go to the political one, but the politics behind this is there. You make a good point there, Lloyd, about the helicopter industry does have it in for us a little bit, but they did fail to mention the one where the emergency services M200 was hit on the end of a runway one time. I wondered why that one was left out.
Yeah, but, they're gonna.
Yeah, so there is that.
They're going to leave that stuff out. Yeah,
they're going to leave that stuff out. So we can smell, where it gets a bit, the errors are in this. The point
it does not pass a sniff test.
Yeah, and look, I would venture to say now there's a two-edged sword here. First of all, if I get a drone this Christmas, when Christmas is coming up, and there will be a lot of people that get their first drone. No one who gets a drone under the Christmas tree this year is going to have, be completely oblivious to the fact that you shouldn't fly near an airport. I think everybody knows, even if you're 12, and you get your drone and mum and dad don't know where they live and those airplanes flying over real low, they don't understand or know why they're there. But we do. There is enough education now from the regulators and from this. Even this news story reminds us of the importance of maintaining separation with conventionally piloted aircraft. So, look, I mean, I think Greg's first point is the valid one here. We're seeing the numbers rise mostly because of the detection capability has increased as well. There's a case for COVID. There's parts of India that have no COVID because they have no testing. So, it's exactly the same scenario that we have there. So most of the drone detection these days is now situated at airports. The aeroscope units are all set up there. So that's where you are going to get detected around the airport. And that's fair enough. That works in terms of keeping, the skies safe. Can I
interrupt for a minute? What we're going to do, we're going to go and put Trevor up on the screen because he's, even though Trevor is injured at the moment, he had an injury and so he's taking off from home. So let's get him up and we'll continue the discussion in the background. Trevor, are you ready for launch?
The sky's clear, Trevor.
Oh.
If he goes, camera down, he's not going to show us. There we go. Flick it up, doing his pre-flight checks. So here we go. You're talking through. Trevor's got an old hand.
There we go.
Stop. There's a pause in the hover there. Just want to check the controls. And there we go. Good stuff, Trev.
Now, can I just add, as Trevor takes off there and avoiding those wires, he's taking off from home because he can't get out and about today. But I just want to remind people, if Trevor, like he was a little bit afraid to take off there for a few moments, we've got to remind people about our friends at the Fearless Drone Academy. Are you new to the drone scene? When it comes to flying, do you have performance anxiety? Well, if you're afraid to get up in the air or you need some help to get ready to launch, the Fearless Drone Academy is ready to help you get up in the air. They offer a course that will help you to take off with confidence. Use the code OzByDrone10 to get a 10% discount off their training pack. There is a link in the description.
Well,
yeah, that's good.
Talking about this story, I tried to put it up there, and I guess I'm gonna have to refresh my browser. But eat more possum incursions could be anywhere in the restricted airspace. Could be as far as 5 miles away from the runway. News reporters make it sound like the sky above the runway is covered with drones, and or thick with drones, as he says. And that's the problem. We need to educate. People need to be educated about this stuff. I just this week, I was discussing with the owner of the dealership that I bought my van from. We were talking about, I told him I have a YouTube channel and I fly a drone occasionally, and that most of my buddies fly drones. And so he was asking some questions, like how high can you fly? How much can you zoom in on? I said, well, first off, if you want to spy on Mary Lou, unless you spend about $10,000, you're not going to get a camera that can spy on Mary Lou and in her bikini. So I went through, but by law, you can only fly at 400 AGL into conversation here in the United States. And so I educated him. Even though I'm not a Part 107, I do pay attention to the rules, and I make sure I know what those rules are. And I explained to him, I'm a hobbyist, I'm not licensed, I'm not a Part 107, but because of this community and because of education I've learned along the way, I think if these idiot reporters would actually get themselves educated, we wouldn't have this kind of garbage being spewed. And like I said, it's NBC. What do you expect?
You know what? Exactly. You make a good point, Lloyd. I mean, there are most of the drone community sticks by the rules and understands that we share airspace. It's a shared environment, like the road is. There are rules on the road. We're quite happy to go and stick to most of the rules on the road. Now, sure, there is put your hand up if you've never been on a completely clear road where the conditions are good and perhaps pushed the speed 10% when you've needed to, and it's been quite safe, and you've made that decision. I think that happens too a little bit in everything that we do. That's only human as well. I think one of the other things is the technology we're dealing with, we've become very confident in. We don't seem to have the engine failures or the system failures with most of the aircraft that we're flying that one would expect. And because they are so reliable and such a solid platform, we do tend to take that somewhat for granted. And I think that's a two-edged sword as well. And so certainly, I know, because I've done this a couple of times, I've had people who've flown a Mini, a Phantom, a Mavic, and then all of a sudden they've come in and you put them on the M600. The first thing I do when I'm training someone on M600 is ask them to pick it up off the ground and feel the weight of it. And once you do that, everything in the brain instantly clicks. Okay, if this falls out of the sky, something is going to happen. If it falls on anything, it's going to dent a roof. It's going to cause problems. So we do, there's a way. And your point, Lloyd, education is important, and understanding what the risks are. I think there should be, rather than more focus on, we see all the time, don't fly here, don't fly there, don't do this, don't go above 400, the don'ts. I'd love to see an education process that says, okay, when you're selecting a place to fly, here are the things you're looking for in terms of risk mitigation. You're looking, obviously, a good, safe takeoff area. Look at the do's and help people with the do's, because if you just focus on don'ts, then everything else is okay. I think the way sometimes we educate in a negative sense, although that's important to be included, I don't think that's the most helpful way to educate people on how to fly. and there should be more from a positive stance. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents on education. But boy, the aeroplanes that we're putting together now are about 6.5 kilos. You know, in the VTOL, they're great, they're capable, but they do have problems. The VTOLs, you know, they're very complicated machines, and you're very aware that it's not just a normal little quad. You know, you've got things that can go wrong.
Yeah. Okay, let's have a quick little pause. So we've got that video going there. We're going to leave that on the screen. Maybe my producer can do a split screen of that somehow. We'll see what she can come up with. While we're doing that...
I'm enjoying it. That's a good view.
It is. Let's see what we can come up with. At the same time, let's talk about that competition. So it's time to draw that, and I've just done that a minute ago. I had a... let me just find that. I've got too many emails in my inbox. So I had them indexed, and I got a random number generator, and we have a winner. Now, I've got a winner and a runner-up. The runner-up, we're going to give something to as well, just because, why not? But the winner of the booster board has to be in the channel today to win that board. And that is a guy by the name of Dro. And he has I think a channel on YouTube called The Dro. So if The Dro is in the chat right now, tell us, Lloyd, you've got to be looking out for The Dro. That's our primary prize today. If he's here, congratulations. We're going to give you a code and you can go and get that. But as a second place runner-up to go and get a code, regardless, we've got a winner. And the winner is Ben Cartwright. So you've got that one as well. Right. Yeah, was that too loud for you?
That's great. I'm going to take a while to recover from that. I just stood on my head for a second.
Ben Cartwright, so you're a winner of the NLD software. And again, The Dro, if you're in chat, and everyone look out for The Dro. If he says something here today, we're going to be sending that out to you.
Yeah. Yeah, he needs to comment in the chat for us to know he's here. You can't just say, "Oh, I was there and I saw it."
Yeah, got to say something in chat. Yeah.
Oh, there's Lloyd and I flying. What could go wrong? I'm going left and Lloyd's going right. Here we go.
So while just a couple of things, we're getting close to the top of the hour, and normally we're a 1 hour show. So let me just quickly thank No Limit Drones for the booster board prize and for the software key. OzByDrone News is also supported by No Limit Drones. Do you feel like your drone is weighted down by chains when you're flying? Take off the chains and fly without limitations. Go to nolimitdrones.com. There is a link in the description. And also that booster board thing, if you're thinking about getting it, even though you didn't win the competition, they're on special at the moment in their store. So go and check that out at nolimitdrones.com. Now, we've got a bunch of stories here that we haven't covered yet. And we're running behind time because we spent so much time on the Mavic, which is a good thing. I'm glad we did.
It is a good thing. Yeah, it is a good thing. Greg, watching Trevor's video there's something I'd love to bring up about, and we were talking about doing the right thing here. And those of you that are going to get the drone for Christmas or perhaps new to the sport here, Trevor took some great photos of a roundabout just a little while ago, and you could see cars going through the roundabout. Oblique photography, right, is the greatest mitigator. So you can take your shot with a safe area below, and he's taking cars going around a roundabout. Now, that is a really smart way to do that. You don't need to be necessarily above the cars when you're taking them. And so just think about that in terms of how you can take a shot, a little bit of thinking and getting used to it. Now, he's going to come back to these road shots again. Here we go. And we're going to see, thanks, Trev. Excellent. Here's a good way. And looking even at other things here, is happily flying pretty much in a static position above his house. So he can see the airplane at all times. He's got a fantastic field of view and he's able to look at all sorts of things without presenting a risk to them at all. There we go. There's a car and it's moving. Here comes the roundabout. Now, there's a great shot of the roundabout right there. And you can see everything you need to see going on in that roundabout and pose no risk to those cars or any problem from where the shot is. So that's a do in terms of safety. That's not a don't fly over cars or populous areas or roads. That's a do. That's a way to get that shot and get it safely.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry if you know that, and a lot of people know that on the channel, but if you're new to the hobby, there's always more than one way to skin a cat. I might ask Lloyd about skinning cats.
And just to be clear, to help Lloyd, because I'm sure he was confused by that word, oblique means you can be next to it. You don't have to be above it.
No, it's an angled shot. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, yes, oblique photography. And you know what? We see this word whenever you're use that word and use it to mitigate your risk. I'm going to take an oblique shot. I even do it with customers. Someone wants a shot of their house, and I don't want to fly over the house or there's a road there. I tell the people before I take the shot, the photography will be oblique. It'll be from this angle and so forth. You won't be getting an overhead shot for whatever reason. So, yeah, there's ways of doing this safely.
Okay. Now, Lloyd, did you have something to say? Sorry.
No.
He's awake today. I mean, look, that's he's been right in there, and I haven't seen him nod off once today.
Okay, look,
not like that. I'm not intelligent, and I don't know what oblique means, or that you wanted somebody as an intelligent co-host. No, I don't have a thing to say, Greg.
I love pushing your buttons, Lloyd, and every week you fall for it. So let me do this. I want to read down the list of news stories, and John and Lloyd, I want you to pick one story each from the run sheet of the stuff that we've got left, and we'll do those. Tell me what interests you, what floats your boat out of the stories that are left.
I'm going to pick the last one.
You're going to pick the last one?
You're going to pick the last one? Which one was that?
Okay. I don't know what it is, but I'm going to pick the last one.
1.10, okay. Right. And what do you got, Lloyd?
Let's do 1.6.
1.6.
Okay, go with that.
Let's not do that, because that was a duplicate of what was on Ken's show. Let's pick another one, right, just so we can.
Then, all right. 1.9. Why not?
Okay, we got the last two. 1.09. Yeah. Let's start with that one, and I'll press a button over here to make the title come up for that one, which is. By the way, Ben, thank you, Greg, and NLD is something that came up on the screen, but it's not there because we had the camera thing up before. Let's put that back. As we go to our next story. Haha, yeah, Lloyd is just the eye candy. Doc Murdoch, thank you for that. Appreciate it. So, over here, the next story, a 2-minute drone video shot in Greenland by a Greek couple has won the first prize in the Drone Photo Siena Awards. We've had this one in the hopper for a couple of weeks. We had too many stories and finally get to show it. Just check this out. And again, we'll play only a small section. Go to the original video by clicking the link in the description. And this is just beautiful. It's titled Ice Ballet. But this goes to the, topic of finding your subject matter and doing something beautiful with it. That's why this absolutely won the competition. I mean, that's just incredible subject matter.
Now, commenting on this, it makes you wonder, because they call this, it's obviously it's a tourism thing, because they call, Iceland is actually very pretty, but they call it Iceland to keep the tourists out. And obviously Greenland needs tourists, so even though it's icy, so they called it Greenland. I think that's what that's all about.
Yeah. Some beautiful footage there. We won't play the whole thing because I don't want to spoil it for the original creator. Do go and check that out in the description. Let's go back to Trevor and we'll turn that off.
That's magnificent stuff, isn't it? That's just incredible.
Yeah, look.
To be able to capture that, and look, for the debate about helicopter makes a huge footprint, possibly On the environment, you need them certainly in that environment, helicopters to get around. But boy, capturing that footage of the wildlife safely and the area, just fantastic stuff from a drone. I'd love to do that. That's on my bucket list. Is to go down into the either southern or northern regions. Antarctica would be awesome to go down there and fly. I mean, definitely a bucket list thing. Be great fun. Need to warm my batteries up though.
Yeah. Let's go to our last story now, and this one, Aurora Borealis may be hidden over the mainland US, but the Northern Lights could put on a show in other countries. And again, some beautiful footage. Check this out. So just reading from the full story, many Americans trying to catch a glimpse of the Northern Lights on this particular weekend were thwarted by clouds or rain, but other countries and Alaska could get a mesmerising treat during Halloween. Parts of Canada, Alaska and Russia might see the finale of the Weekend Lights show on Sunday that started when a large solar flare erupted on Tuesday and became visible to the Earth starting on Saturday, according to forecasters. Now,
see what excess gas can do?
Thank you, Lloyd. The solar flare led to a strong geomagnetic storm that caused the Aurora Borealis, or Northern Lights, to reach parts of the US and Europe. They had predicted that weather permitting, the Northern Lights might be visible this weekend from Portland, Oregon, and New York City. Lots of info about that. Do go and have a look at that story. The link's in the description. Again, we've gone back to Trevor over there, have we?
Yeah, Trev's coming in for landing. Great job today, Trev. Give him a round of applause. Can we do that, Greg?
Hey.
Oh, there we go, Trevi.
Yeah. Thanks again, Trev.
Yeah, look, he's always there when no one else wanted to fly. He's a good guy to have on the channel. Let me just see if anyone else did come in. I did look before. No one else there.
Well, like in my part of the country, it's getting light or it's getting dark almost at 5 o'clock now because of the time change. So,
and that's why we're early.
Well, even an hour early was just about almost. By the time we got to rolling, it was already getting dark or real.
We often have this problem.
Especially during the winter months for us.
Nice one, Trevor. You guys. Good one, Trevor. Well done. Look, I think he showed some great flying there and some good ideas for very safely flying.
It was windy today here.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, windy here. That stopped me from flying too. So mine's in the case.
Sorry, what did you say, Grumpy? Just want to just confirm.
Oh, I'm sorry. Does the big squishy butt have something to say?
It was a setup, wasn't it? That was a setup. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our show, plus a little bit, but that's all good. We had fun. We've given away. Did we get the winner of the booster board in the chat?
Not yet.
Oh, here we go.
So if anyone knows the Dro, by all means, go and tell him to get his squishy butt into the chat. Otherwise, he's giving away a prize worth currently it's on sale. It's about $140 US. So get him to get his backside in here. But let's have a look at our finishing comments. Number one, do follow us on social media at OzByDrone. Number two, there's a postal. Oh, you know what? I've got to stop. Hang on. Stop the press. I've got some mail. I've got some mail from Joe Blaylock that came in, and I just want to thank him for that. It's see if I can hold this up. It's a small picture of Joe plus a QR code linking to his channel. So gratuitous self-promotion. Joe, it's okay. I love yous. Speaking of which, Joe, how did you go with your booster board? Because you won one of them before, I think, Joe, if I remember correctly. So you'll have to get in touch and let us know how that's going. So yeah, Joe, thank you for that. It's nice to get something in the mail. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to send me a drone. Even if you send me a little bunch of circly things with your channel on there, it's all good. It's all fun. If you do want to send anything, as I was saying, 5/127 Princess Highway, Sylvania, New South Wales, 2224. So that's about it. Anything else for you, John?
No, a great show this week. Thanks again, Trevor, for flying. Thanks, Lloyd, for being the eye candy once again for the show. Always appreciate that. And good chat. We'd love to hear more about your comments on the Mavic 3 until we ring them all out and have it all out. Then we can move on and wait for the Mavic 4. Oh, did I say that? Is there a rumour channel is ready about the Mavic 4? Good grief. We talked about the Phantom 5 for so long. I'm sure we're always looking forward to that next step. So fly safe, everyone. Looking forward to our next global fly-in, and we get some good weather, and I'll be doing some flying. So fly safe. See you next week.
Okay, and Grumps?
Well, it's always fun being on this show. Well, sometimes it is. Anyway, remember what I say, be kind, treat each other better than you treat yourselves, and remember, old farts like me really do matter.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay, let's leave that there. Lloyd, you know we love you. I just like having fun.
I know, and I don't mind it. I really don't. I have fun. I enjoy the show.
Okay. Look, thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to Joe Blaylock for sending those little circle things in. Thanks to our viewers who participated in the competition. I'm going to leave that challenge open. If someone can contact the Dro, he's a YouTuber, if you know who he is, give him a buzz and get him to say something before the chat stops today. If you can do that, he wins. If not, jackpot. We'll give away 2 boosters. No, I can't do that. We'll give away the booster. We'll try again next week. Okay, so here's the challenge. That link, go and share that link. Even if you didn't enter now, share it and send an email copy to me and you can be in the competition for next week. Okay, guys, that's all.
Yep.
Thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the show. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.
Yeah. Thanks again, Trevor. Thanks, Trev.
Thanks, Trev.